the Force, Luke.
Sometimes truth isn't good enough.
I feel the need for speed.
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna?
Cause it's their time. Their time. Up there. Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here.
All right, Wardens, quickly, get in here. We got to talk Penguin episode 7. I've been waiting like all day to do this. We really should have been doing these Sunday night, but it just doesn't fit the schedule. So we're going to just skip all the nonsense. I'm going to bring Kingsley in right now. We're going to talk about Penguin episode 7. We're breaking the entire thing. Dude, that was a nice view. We're going to break the entire thing down. We're going to give reactions and analysis. Dude, it wasn't a bad view. Maybe we could toggle between that as we go just to change things up. Dude, I actually watched this last night for a change. I actually put down the Call of Duty Black Ops 6 Zombies Extravaganza long enough to watch it and be like, I probably should have just watched this at 9 when it came on. I waited till like 11, but I didn't get my rewatch today. So as always, I'm going to rely on you as we bounce around because we've already decided, if you guys have watched our other episodes, we're not doing the beat by beat, frame by frame. It's boring. It's kind of stale. It's more fun to hit the hot stuff and then like wrap up strong with like the episode's conclusion. You know what I mean? As we're concluding. So I think we'll stick to that format, but I know I'm going to forget something. That's why I brought you in. Let's just jump right into it, dude. It's the penultimate episode.
Yes.
Second to last for all you new guys. Continue.
As I was saying, I usually call this one the setup. It sets you up to go into the final episode for the climax. If you refer it to some of the stuff that you had seen that we've reviewed before, like Andor, where I broke it down into like the 2 episode things, like Andor was 12 episodes. And I broke it down into like 2 episodes, 2 episodes, 2 episodes. Then it was 2 episodes, 2 episodes, 2 episodes. And then it was the final 4, which kind of all blended together. This one follows a lot of that format to a point, but it hits all of the major beats as it should. Like episode 6 was the rising tensions. This one is the setup episode where, as you can see, the title we did is reach a boiling point. And then the next one will be the climax. And if everything is correct, it will be the final episode of the Penguin. There will be a true finale with a set cliffhanger to set up the movie, The Batman 2, and possibly the bad guy, which a lot of people are hinting towards a certain Batman villain that has not had much airtime. But
Yeah,
overall,
sure.
I love the show. I loved every episode, and I'm ready to talk about episode 7.
Yeah, for sure. I think when we're talking about penultimates, and you say what you want about HBO series or and the stuff that they put out in the past, I think that their strong point in a lot of their series, I know for the Game of Thrones, most of the seasons they had there, that episode 9 of 10 was always an absolute smoke show of stuff popping off, things going down, and leading right into one more thing usually happens in the finale to make it exciting, and it's not just an hour-long wrap-up time and people saying their goodbyes. I expect no less from this show. When we get into next week, I fully expect stuff to absolutely explode, given where they left things at the end of this episode with, no puns intended, because stuff literally exploded. Dude, I'll kick this one off here because we know one of the things I love most about appropriately formatted and structured storytelling in the serial format are bookends. And again, we get that with this episode. We get the opening of young Cobb family, Oz and his brothers, the much younger mother, probably in her 30s or whatever, late 20s, early 30s, something like that. Back in the day when they were in the broke apartment that they've referenced several times over. And then when we get to the end of the episode, we get a resolution to that. And dude, my God, once again, this show, apparently this director, this writer, these producers, they understand proper use of flashback, because here, when they go back in time, it does what? It develops character and informs you of why they make certain moves present day and why they are the way they are present day. Dude, tell me about this flashback. Like, so chilling.
One of the great things about this flashback, it shows Oz developing to who he is now. He sees what he wants and he finds a way to make it happen. It might hurt him. It might, he might he might have remorse and stuff like that, but he's never going to apologize for what he got. Because you start off with him in the apartment, and he's trying to get his mom attention, who's working, and then his brothers come in and kind of just capture their mom's attention. You can see it in his eyes. He's like, "That's what I want." Now he's lame. He has the brace on his leg even early on then. So what you see is the developing of turning into the monster that he actually became, because he sees what he wants and he takes it. He doesn't care who gets hurt in the process. And you did see that.
The word for that is sociopath, for those of you that were wondering.
Because he loves his brothers. You can tell he loves his brothers, like the way they were, all messing around and playing, and they went to their favorite place. Yeah. You did see his association with the early mobsters, trying to be seen and stuff like that. When his older brother was actually seen and was like, making money and stuff like that. But then they go down into the sewer.
And warned him to stay away.
Yeah, warn him to stay away, knowing that, it could lead to a life that wouldn't be good for him. Older brother protecting younger brother, exactly what you should be doing.
Yep.
And then they start playing like they're playing flashlight tag in the trolley area that, we've talked about, that he said he went to when he was a kid and everything. So you had that set up earlier, and now you're actually seeing it pay off of when he was a kid. And then
found the coin. They actually worked that in there.
Yeah, where how
the subway token.
Yeah, you actually found the token. And then you have it where his brothers try to get him to come down because they're hiding from him. They went into a deeper tunnel, and he closes the door and locks it. And is like, "Y'all have fun getting out." And then he goes back and gets the time he wants with his mom, not even thinking. Well, he keeps looking over his shoulder, like he knows his brother should be home, and he's like, they might be in trouble, but he's not doing anything to prevent it because he's getting what he wants.
Yep, dude. So it's probably one of the better twist reveals of backstory I've seen in a while, because through 7 episodes. Wait, what are we on? 7? Yeah, we're on 7. Through 7 episodes of this show, we've known his brothers drowned young, that they've been away for a long time. And one of my favorite parts about this show in general is my inability to have predicted where they're going to go with different things. So I think the suckers bet that I fell for, and I fell for 2 of them in this episode, by the way, about people dying or not dying. Mm-hmm. But this other one with the backstory is, I think most of us probably assumed, these 2 drowned along the way in some ridiculous accident and blah, blah, blah. I've got to deal with the trauma of losing my brothers. I guarantee people out there didn't assume, unless this is in the Penguin's backstory and I'm not aware of it from in comics somewhere, that he passively murdered his brothers. He locked them into an area that was going to flood out, and they had no way of opening the door. Dude, I was claustrophobic and dying when that happened, because they played that so well, where they go from let us out to panicked, and then the last plea to be let out is them gargling water.
Yeah,
dude, that was crushing shit. That was awful to listen to.
And it was when they started gargling water, you actually see the sign where it says it's the overflow drainage area.
And you see water coming through the cracks at the top of the door. You know they're boned. Dude. So Oz has been a psycho his entire life. I tweeted it earlier. I was like, I think this is the most despicable piece of shit main character I've ever seen and enjoyed in a show. He's not Joffrey. Somehow, I don't get it. Because he's not 100. None of the characters are 100% cruel all the time. They're just evil pieces of shit. But they have moments of compassion that somehow antidotes the piece of shit.
Yeah.
I can't explain it other than that.
Yeah, it's called that. People are complex. They're
layers, like an onion.
Yeah,
like an ogre.
Like an ogre.
Donkey. I'm a long donkey. Yeah, exactly. So that's the first 6 minutes of the show, and already it's more compelling television than anything else that I'm trying to find to watch on other streamers as I go. I'm like, okay, this told me something about, and it I enjoyed it because I was wrong, because it told me something I didn't suspect. You know what I mean? It's like, oh snap, he actually kind of killed him.
Yeah, I mean, this whole episode, you could say, is that because we saw the trailer of the episode from last week, and from what they showed in the trailer, you had a certain idea of what was about to happen in this episode, and it's it did not happen. Like it went a totally different path than what they outlined in the preview, which I think is a fantastic thing. Like they built interest, yet then again they subvert expectations. So
Not in a bad way.
yeah,
Not in a bad
not in
way.
a bad way. No, it made it even more compelling.
For sure. I think we both got some big ones wrong. I think last week you were talking about, oh, they got the mom and Vic. They didn't have Vic.
Nope,
That's a bit of a
didn't have
plot
Vic.
contrivance. If I had to nitpick, I think that'd be my nitpick for the episode. Like if that's Oz's guy and you bust the party up and take the mom, how do you not just kill him? That's a loose end. I don't think they leave. Do you have something on that?
I do have something on that because one, she came in with a blunt object, and to decapacitate him, to capture the mother was her
She
primary
sucker punched him.
Yeah, to get out of there, because she had no idea when Oz was going to be back, and she was.
You don't
by
think
herself.
she went there with 8 of her guys, though? You think Sophia went alone and there weren't 8 of her guys waiting in the Mercedes G-Wagon downstairs? I don't know. I'm like, if this is the only nit I can pick, I don't care. Again,
yeah,
you don't get. They're allowed one. They've earned it. That's always been our gripe with other crappier shows is if you do everything up here, when you need me to cut you a little slack so you can leave a loose end somewhere, I'm like, all right, okay, cool, I guess so. And I think that was it. But when he found him on the floor, I was like, oh shit, his face is going to be caved in. He's going to have a bullet hole in his nose. Nah, he's like, oh, what happened?
Yeah, I think
I
think they should have done a little bit more of like beating him up, show like more bruises, maybe some more blood, where he's actually like took a beating. It looked like he took a hit and then no sold a bump, because he got up and then he was like, okay, I'll do this.
I'm gonna climb out the window and run, and I know exactly what your instructions are, even though I've got a concussion and I was unconscious for like 12 hours.
Yeah,
there was a time jump in there, but I'm with that. I think, like we said, it's they earned enough of that to be able to get away with leaving Vic out there as a loose end, and that's okay with me. I don't care because everything else is working so good. I'm surprised that his role in the episode was that one scene. I figured in the penultimate episode, this is where this is one of my biggest mispredictions of the show. He didn't die.
No,
the girlfriend didn't die. The girlfriend's not even in the episode. I thought for sure Eve was going down. Eve, right? Was that her name?
Yeah,
Eve was the lead girl. Yeah, I thought she was done, or I thought Mama was done. Spoilers. Woo.
Yeah, no, as I knew Eve wouldn't play into this, and she probably won't play into the next episode because it doesn't move the plot along.
It's right. It's past it now. Yeah. We're on the high speed train to like Disasterville now.
And also like Oz didn't have time to figure out who sold him out. Like he's worried about his mom, so he hasn't had that time. Now, if they were going to do a second season, I could see her biting it then, but it doesn't. There'd be no impact. Yeah, it has no impact on the plot of this one. So I didn't definitely understand why they she's done. Like they wrap, she's and her last call is done.
Well, you never know. I mean, we know because of what we know about the Batman 2 that Oz is in it. We know he survives the show. He might not win, but he's surviving the show, right? So there may be a end of the episode 8 kind of scene where maybe he just shows up at Eve's door knocking like, I know it was you, clack, clack, and then just like credits. You know what I mean? We get that post-credit scene. They could do it back up at the beginning of Batman 2. I mean, there's ways, like you said, that they could revisit that, because I think that's how Oz would think when he takes that minute. Because what we saw in that part of the in the earlier scene in the flashback, we see more of his impulsivity, where in the very first episode he shoots Alberto because he disrespected him. And it's like, oh, fuck. And then in this episode, we see the flashback where he leads his actions lead to his impulse actions about locking him in, like, screw you guys. You went down there because you're dissing me because of my leg. Like he probably wasn't actively trying to drown them. But then later on, he's like, crap, I got what I wanted out of it. So his entire modus operandi of the entire show has been, I'm not going to apologize for taking what I wanted. It worked for me.
And that's how he's been the whole time. Like
whole time, every episode you get a reference to it. At least once.
Yeah, episode 3 where him and Sophia out there talking. He's like, "You think I'm upset about where I'm at? I'm sad that it happened to you, but I'm not upset about where I am today because of
Look at what I got." Yeah. His exact words, Kingsley, were, "Look at what I got."
Yeah,
I got a Maserati over here. It's purple. Where's the Wolf's purple Maserati? I got no purple Maserati. I got no sky blue Maserati. You'd probably want a sky blue Maserati. It's like, it's Detroit colors. That might work.
One that says Aldred on it.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so I love that these characters continue to act in ways that are familiar, but don't end up being predictable, because people do not like, they don't do things that are out of character, but I'm always at least a little surprised by what happens next. And that's how good TV is supposed to work.
Yeah. Speaking, and let's moving on. Let's speak about how
Yeah,
characters are
let's do
acting
it.
different. Let's talk about the confrontation between Mrs. Cobb and Sophia at the house. Like, if they weren't going to win awards beforehand, this locked it down. Like, there is no one going to be able to compete with them. The way that their interaction back and forth, while one was like, thought she was going to come in and just bully her because she's an older lady, and then just the performance, and like you see, and then her tics and everything like that, showing off her
Louis
disease,
body, yeah.
but still having the mind to go after her in like a sparring match between two prize fighters, going back and forth.
She took shots, dude. Mrs. Cobb took shots. So my boy's gonna put a bullet in your pretty little skull, and I'm gonna tap dance on you. And she got the accent. I'm gonna tap dance on your grave. And I'm like, oh snap!
And
but
then she
Sophia
destroys
her, right? Because Sophia destroys her.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, tell me about Jack and Ben. You're like, what? And then instantly.
Yeah, and then she started having an episode, and then you saw compassion in Sophia's face. Like, where are you right now? And then
dude, she reaches out for her shoulder, dude.
Yeah.
But before she gets back, she breaks Hangman character Sophia, and she's reaching out to Francis's shoulder, and I don't think she makes contact. I think she gets right in the space she's about to touch, and that's huge. Like, if she actually lands that hand, it creates a bond between those two characters, even on a surface level. Like, there's reassurance in human touch. We know in the medical field, we just know this. There's science behind it. But before she can make that contact, Francis rolls around with like the backhand all the way to hell, and Sophia's security guard steps like he's gonna beat up this old lady or something. And she's like, no, it's cool. She got dementia, you know. But dude, that scene was brilliant. But dude, I was gonna say this, every good character in this show, and I mean like the main 5-6 people on the cast, they all do that same thing. Sophia has that psycho crime bitch thing, and then moments of compassion. Francis has that, and this is that it's tragically real, obviously, with the I have the dementia stuff, but I know who my boy Oswald is, and he's gonna take care of me, and you're done. And then but frightened, oh, my boys are out there, you should be looking for them, isn't that your job? And it breaks your heart when she does that.
Yeah.
But then like it goes a step further with this type of writing and performance and direction. Vic, we've seen go through that evolution where he's becoming harder. Sal Maroni is a complex character grieving the loss of his family. He's violent in the one scene where he's beating the crap out of Oz up front with the golf club and talking mad shit. But then when he runs into Oz's operation, he's running the show. He's just holding the piece up. He's just holding the gun. He's not going in there shooting. People say, hey, everybody calm the fuck down. You work for me now. This is how it's going to be and everything else. And he's trying to be smooth. He's trying to talk calmly. And then, of course, Oz does the same thing. He's ruthless is a word we haven't used in this show, talking about it enough. And we see it again here. Well, let's do this scene where Oz is trying to cut the deal in his apartment about, hey, you know, show me my mother and then I'll take you to where the drugs are. Whatever. It's the only way it's going to happen. And Sal gets in his girl's like, you trying to make a fucking deal? I'll give you a deal. I'll give you the same deal you gave my family. Like, oh, dude, your mom's done. She's barbecue, bro. It's over. So they perp walk Oz down into the subway station, and Sal does his thing. And Oz, because he has respect of his guys, is able to non-verbally like signal, time to riot, time to go. We're not going to ruin the scene because it's a pretty decent little how it all goes down. But the confrontation between Oz and Sal works a lot of the same way, where Oz has those moments of compassion for his guys. He's riling them up after the events go down into being, you're my guys. This is you built this. We're going to do this and that and the other thing. And then when we get to that end of the episode and its explosive conclusion, he screws his guys over. Like, he could have warned them what was coming, but he did not, because he's self-serving. He's ruthlessly self-serving. And we'll talk about that scene in depth. I was just trying to connect the two. Sorry for the ramble. That was a great scene with Sal and the takeover.
Oh yeah, and then like Sal, you can see that he's a man on the edge, and like this is where, like in the preview, we saw where he gets the drop on Oz, he's hitting him with the golf club and everything like that. Which actually find out that Oz actually surrendered, and then he got hit
Yep.
with the golf club. But I thought the
Yep.
whole episode was be them like taking this out on him and making him watch something, which made something snap in his head. But no,
Yep.
it's not. 'Cause
Nope.
when they get him down into the down in the trolley area where he has his operation
Subway station,
going.
Yep.
He sits there and he's signaling everybody, and then it turns into a full riot, and it's him one-on-one with Maroney, and you think he's trying to finally get him because he's beating Oz up, like he's taking it to him. This old man is laying those
Clancy Brown's a
lumber
big
on him.
guy.
Yeah.
Clancy Brown's a big dude. Even
And
if
he
he's
was-
65 years old or whatever he is, you take a
Yeah.
couple body shots from that guy, you're going
Yeah.
down. It was good.
Yeah.
It wasn't a martial art. We should tell everybody this. It wasn't like a martial arts Daredevil, Batman, backflips, throwing combos. It was just two dudes throwing hands in close quarters in like the control booth of one of the trolleys.
This is when you
It was
take that
kinda
guy
funny.
behind the woodshed and you're trying to teach him a lesson. And
It
that's
was just
exactly what it
raining
was.
blows.
And then
Yep.
one of the biggest twists happens in the series. Like it
Dude,
just
I
like
just threw my streaming pen down. I'm throwing my pen down.
I was like, what? No, how? Well, I mean, a
Dude.
result. What?
You felt like Oz in that moment. It was perfect. And at first I was like, this is a cop out. And then I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. This is actually fairly effing brilliant that they went this route. We can spoil it, whatever. People had us. Yes, tell everybody what happened. Go ahead.
He had a massive heart attack in the
course
middle
he
of the
did.
fight. I mean, he's
course
an
he
older
did.
man. I mean, he was 60s, 70s. He's there being
60,
he's
Right.
had stress.
throwing hands.
He hasn't taken the best care of his body. You see that he eats
Nope,
like a
he's-
lot of pasta, stuff like that. He's
he's
a
a
little
little
bit
chunky.
bigger.
Yeah.
And then he's trying
He's
to
living a
like
good life.
fight like he's a 26-year-old, and it was too much for his heart and his body to handle, not including the stress of having his family barbecued.
Yes, exactly. And that's, I think, the part that that makes it all. I can take it that it's not a cop out, that they didn't just want it to devolve into gunfire, which it does anyway, which was great because you see some. It looks like some concern for a briefest quick second where Oz was like, "Oh, come on, Sal, come on, no," and then he gets in his grill and he's like, "Listen to me, I beat you, I defeated you, you mother." He just goes off, and then you think it's over, and then it's not over because what does he do? He's like, blah 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 blah, like he taps him like 7 times.
I'm not gonna lie. I was sitting there thinking,
still-
I'm like, you got to make sure he's dead. You got to make sure you didn't have to put a bullet somewhere in him. Make sure he's dead.
Oh, dude,
He didn't
he's
just put one. He
He's
emptied
dead.
like a clip on.
no. Dude, I was like, dude, I think it was a near mag dump, probably. He went off because it was Sal's. No, actually, Sal didn't fire on the way in. His guys shot two of Oz's guys on the way in. Like they only clipped people that were carrying. They was like Oz's security. They didn't shoot any of the workers up front. But I thought that was odd that after the lights went out, like when Oz gets the upper hand and wins the exchange, like there's not like bodies of some of his guys all over the place. Because if I was one of Maroney's guys, I'd have been like, okay, we're fucked, and just go ham a little. But dude, what a great scene! And again, if you're not winning awards, I don't know why we're not.
That wasn't even Maroney's guys. Those
they were Sophia's guys.
They were Sophia's guys. Because remember, they're the ones who were keeping Sal's anger in check.
Sal in check.
And that's how Oz played him when he had his guys ready to go. He played on that. He barbecued his family. And he was talking about like the hair. He said, I wasn't expecting what the hair would smell like. And then
did she wear a special hairspray and then snap? It was over.
Because he grabs the gas. He's like, someone get me a light. And that's when everything goes down.
Yeah. But it was but see, and the guy that and of course the guy that pulled the wires was who?
His
fucking
boy.
Electrician that was working, but it was the electrician that was working on getting base power. He was putting power back to that area. So I mean, all those dots connect perfectly for that scene for when it goes down. And then of course, like the transition to the other half of the episode. So I think that was about the halfway point. Like, again, it looks like Oz gets the upper hand. He's down, now he's back up, and he's told Vic, go get me an army. Go before Sal took him. He's like, Call Zhao, call Donnie boy, you go right down the ladder, get me an army kid. He throws him out the window, and then he wisely decides, oh, I'm going to just go out and drop the gun. And
instead of trying to shoot his way out or anything like that.
Not shooting his way out. You're not shooting your way out of a 2-bedroom apartment. No chance. No chance. Because Sal had like 10 guys with him. That wasn't going to happen. So I thought that was all really smart. So the transition then comes from that scene where Sophia calls Sal's phone for the update, and Oz answers the phone. Yeah. He's like, yeah, that didn't go down how you thought it went down. Sorry.
And then
they get to the deal.
Then he's like, I will give you everything if you just give me my mom. And that was a great line for Sophia when she was there and she was talking with Dr. Rush. And she's like, I left one institute just to enter another one, because she's still being controlled by her father and her father's expectations. And that's what she finally realized. And her conversation with Francine brought that knowledge to her. And she's like, I want freedom. I don't want to keep going down the same cycle over and over again.
I mean, I got all that, but I had a different you're not wrong. I had a different emotional read on it, right? And I have a problem with Sophia saying that it was a good line, that I walked out of the one institution, Arkham, but I walked back into another one, which is my family's crime syndicate family status, whatever. But and then she's like, every decision I've made has basically been everything my dad would have done anyway. I just happen to be in charge now, right? But I'm like, would not then the freedom come from you just leaving and taking your money and just fucking off and going somewhere else?
And I think that's what she was leaning towards, but she wants Oz to pay for making her.
She wants
to burn Oz for for turning her into her father and making her go to the institution to begin with. That broke her.
True. Yeah, I can see that. And I mean, speaking of institutions, we get, of course, the other we get the good Sophia scene from this episode, naturally, where we Rush comes in, the doctor comes in and says, hey, I have a friend at Bridge Morning. It's not Arkham. It's Arkham for kids, basically.
Yeah.
And it's the group institution that Gia, her niece, the little girl from the greenhouse from the gassing episode, she's been there, and she's starting to talk. She's allegedly saying, I saw something when the night my family died. I want to talk to the cops.
Yeah.
And that sets up to Sophia going to visit her scene. And again, you're on edge for this kid, because you think, again, the predictable thought is Sophia's somehow going to go in here, and is she going to do a kid? I mean, Oz would probably put a kid out, but Sophia saved this kid once. But if she's going to rat, is she above that? Is she not above that? I was tense going in there because they set it up like she's going to do something. She got the hangman outfit on, the short black skirt, the clunky black shoes, the weird mullety kind of haircut, the dark makeup. Like she looks not stable at any given minute.
Well, and also that location really set her off and put that PTSD of being back in Arkham. Yep. And they said that they did that on purpose, is building Arkham into this smaller thing. Yeah.
Yep. That they repurposed it into a new location.
Yep. And like she has like that feeling, like even has a couple of the flashbacks of the unchained inmate again before she goes into the cell to see her niece. And then the whole exchange between them, I could tell she wasn't going to do anything to her because that was the only one who was actually nice to her out of the family. Like you saw, like her niece kept trying to get to know her, and it was her mother who kept keeping her away.
Pull her away. Mm-hmm.
But the thing was that she saw that she was hurting herself because of what happened.
Yeah, she started cutting. And never a good sign when you start cutting.
Yeah. And then so she took the opportunity. She's like, I'm going to have to tell her the truth. It's like the reason why is because, they were horrible people. It's like, you're not horrible people, and you can't. He's like, we are better off with them gone. And like, don't hurt yourself. Yeah. I'm giving you a gift that I don't have.
Yeah. But it's when she enters the cell, though, I think it's important to point out that we see her take a page out of like the Oz playbook to a degree. Oz for the whole show has always been really good about thinking on the fly, changing tactics, and telling people what they want to hear. When Sophia rolls up into the cell, it's a locked room in a locked facility. It's not technically a cell. We know what you mean.
Yeah.
Right? She goes in there, and the first thing she gaslights this kid, the first thing she gets in there, she goes, is that what you think of me? Do you really think I could have done that? And then Gia says what Gia says. They have their couple of lines back and forth, and then Sophia's like, "The truth is everybody's better off without them because they were all bad people."
And
Like,
that
well,
she's
this little
happy
girl
that it
probably
happened
doesn't.
to him. She never
Right.
admitted to doing it.
Right. in every sense except saying I did that shit. But like this little girl who might be like what 12, maybe 12, maybe a preteenish. I mean, she's definitely not like grown. She's definitely a little kid. She probably doesn't think her mommy and daddy were bad people.
Yeah.
And yet she's like she's taking the hug, and I guess that's like preservation, and like she's all PTSD'd and depressed and hurting herself because of the circumstances. But I wanted to point out that the changing of tactics between that Sophia used on the way in while she was there. And then when she came out, again, we see levels of complexity, like you mentioned earlier, very astutely. When the door closes behind her as she exits, she's starting to clutch at her throat and she's starting to have a reaction again about everything that she just had to put the kid through.
Yeah.
She's a great kid too. She's probably my favorite new character of the year.
And see, in like lesser
She's been
shows,
great.
they would miss little details like that.
Yep.
They would miss her having the reaction she had when she was going in as she's coming back out, entering that hallway again. Like they would have just had her walk away and like, you know, walk out like your queen type thing. And it's like, no, she still doesn't have the reaction. She's still in that environment.
Dude, that's if they even bothered to do the walk away like a boss queen move. In a crappier show, they probably just would have cut scene and gone to something else while she's hugging the girl on the bed and been like, boom, okay, now we're back on Oz doing some other shit, you know? But I think one of the scenes we skipped over to get to that institution scene that I thought had some better, had some good setup is when Dr. Rush comes in to give her all that breakdown about we might have a problem. Sophia, because you never just talk one line into one line. You never ask a question and answer it directly. Like you layer conversation like in real life, right? Yeah. She starts to have like a panic attack talking about, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And Rush has to be like, what do you want? Calm down. Your father's not here. His hand is no longer on your throat. And again, I think that's the kind of scene you're really hitting at, where good shows give you these beats where Sophia is in charge, but she's not a boss bitch, because at any given minute, she could literally snap and be completely out of control and no longer achieve any progress or hit her goals. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like she's not a force of nature where she's just steamrolling her way through objectives and winning everything. You know, and that's what makes this a superior show, honestly. Like I think that's really what nails it for me. Are those little beats, because Oz has them, Vic has them, Francis has them. Gia we've had very little exposure to that character, but everything she's given us has been emotionally resonant with things that are happening around her and to her. And it all makes these feel like real people. We talk about all the time, Gotham is a character in the show. It feels like it's alive. It has a personality. You know what I mean? It's like even
it
our side
changes
characters
over the show. It changes over the show. So and it's like, that's the other thing we've talked about, like a world that looks lived in, and like the environment around them actually matters and plays into their life, and Gotham plays into their life. Like Vic was a good kid who now is on the path to be a gangster. Oz, you see that the lack of money and like the lack of respect as a kid built him into the monster he became. Sophia, the Arkham Asylum, built her into who she is now because of what Oz did. I don't know. They haven't really dove into a lot of Rush's story, which I think is good.
Dude, he's a weird. I mean, he's a weird. I got enough out of him. He's a weirdo, dude.
He's definitely
clearly
a
weirdo. He started not that when you thought he was going to be like the white knight-ish kind of character, fighting the good fight from inside Arkham, maybe keeping her safe. Maybe there was a degree of that behind the scenes. He's clearly a nut. And if they don't make him Scarecrow in the Batman, I don't know. I can't save this show.
I don't think it's going to be the Scarecrow.
I know. I'm just saying. It should be, but you know.
Because they use Scarecrow in Batman Begins. I don't think
10 minutes, dude. Come
on. They're not going to rehash anything that the Batman Begins or the Christopher Nolan series did.
Well, I mean, they took the Riddler so we can rehash Schumacher, but we can't rehash the Scarecrow from Nolan.
I think they did a much better version of the Riddler in the Batman than Nolan.
No, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Like they rehashed Riddler in the Batman, and he was in Schumacher's Batman Forever. Jim Carrey. So
yeah,
reuse a Batman villain, just do something new.
That
It's not like
Batman
Scarecrow only has one
universe
story.
is its own universe. Because they're trying to build their own thing with DC Studios. And I do believe that Matt Reeves' The Batman is going to be the Batman for the new DC Studios, as Christopher Nolan's was the DCEU. And then they even switched it up and brought in Batfleck.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think
still like
more than
so
likely,
who do you think they're going to make him? Who's he going to be?
I think it's going to rhyme with his last name.
I think he's Hush. You think
he's Hush? He's just crazy enough and smart enough to pull it off.
And remind me, Hush in the comics, was he a psychiatrist? He was a doctor, wasn't he?
They really
a medical doctor.
I don't remember a lot of his backstory, to be honest, of who Hush was.
He's the anti-Bruce Wayne. Parents killed in a tragic murder or something, yada yada. But he's what happened to Bruce Wayne if he went the other way. I believe, if I remember my Batman correctly. But I thought he had some kind of background like that. So I guess we'll have to see. But again, like you were to circle it back to what you were saying, every character on this show has been hit with a degree of thought, with a degree of purpose, with a degree of intention, and it leaves nothing for you to have to. Well, like one of our big complaints on this channel, if you guys have been with us for a while, we appreciate that. Go check out our back catalog of other shows, varying levels of quality that we've enjoyed. But one of the things that we typically hate is doing the writer's job for them. I hate having to have headcanon in real time for shows I'm watching. I'm paying you, you tell me the story. You know what I mean? And with this show, like we have predictions for where it's going to go next, but I'm never guessing in real time what somebody's intention is. Like the story just makes concrete sense as it goes. You know what I mean? And I'm never second guessing, oh, Oz right now did this, and this. Will he burn down the orphanage? The answer is yes. If it serves his interest, yes, he will burn down the orphanage. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. This show has been spot on with hitting all the major points that it needs to hit. And there isn't a setup that isn't paid off later.
Love that.
And
God, I love that.
Which plays off to the multiple double crosses that this show has played out so many times, and they hit it up again. And then I think this should be the last thing we talked about, which is the end of the episode.
Wait. One more scene. Cause I just wanted to hit on this. Cause I wanted to ask you, well, it's more of like a general feeling of things. The relationship between Oz and his mom, I think we need to talk about, because we get that. And I think it was in actually, maybe we should save that for next week. Cause I think I'm thinking ahead to the trailer for next week where she gets all dolled up and they're like gonna head out for the night on the town at some point where he's a kid. Like the younger actors playing Oz and his mom are back for next episode, so we know we're getting at least one more flashback.
Yeah, and and that's how the end of the episode was them going out and dancing, and she's like, you have to give me the life I wanted. And he's like,
that's right.
The best
it was the
life.
bookend.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about their relationship then. Dude, I'm getting Norman Bates vibes from this whole thing. Like it started off being like weirdo mama's boy kind of thing, and that's kind of tropey in certain families. And like I get, like we ripped on the Andor one famously, the security, not the ISB guy. You know who I'm talking about? The nerdy guy.
Yeah,
Eden. Like I'm Captain Empire, but like I lost my job because I suck at it, even though I was the only one doing my job.
Yeah,
right. That relationship was bad. Like they just wrote that not as good. Oz and his mom are straight up Norman Bates and his mom. It's weird when she comes out of her room like dolled up. Like it's 10 levels too sexy to be going out with your kid. Way too much. Way too effing much. And I'm like, this is getting a little odd. But it plays into like that mama's boy, Munchausen, codependent. I let my brothers die so I could have all of my mom's attention, even though, and again, a crappier show would have written it. That way his brothers were terrible to him and it gave him a reason to hurt them.
Yeah.
This show did not do that.
No.
By any stretch. Like when he felt like he was slighted while they were playing flashlight tag, the brothers are both apologizing to him before he even closes the door.
But he still has it in his mind, and it shows his impulsiveness.
Exactly, dude. Because he's broken, dude. He's broken, and it's nobody's fault but his own. And then mom makes him worse. 100%.
She feeds into his ego and his desire to get what he wants.
Right.
Like she doesn't deter him away from his life of crime. She empowers him to go
Yeah.
into that life,
She
to
encourages
provide
it.
her
Yeah, she 100%
the life
encourages it,
that
yeah.
she deserves.
I mean, and again, that there's that we haven't used these words enough: ruthless and relentless. We saw early on in a conversation between Oz and his mom where he's had, I think it was like whatever first episode she was in. I don't think it was one. I think it was two, right? Where he's like, the context is I'm second guessing what my moves are going to be, and she basically warns him not to pussy out. Like,
Yeah.
is that my boy? Is that what people are going to think? What does that make me? You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my God, dude, there's a reason this dude just shot his boss, was shooting at a bunch of teenagers, is running a meth lab, or what was it? Drops, Bliss, whatever it was
Bliss.
early on before.
His is Bliss. Yeah.
Right. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like you've built this guy. So what would be perfectly fitting in next episode would be if it's Oz's actions that get this woman killed. Imagine that. Imagine that, dude. It would be crazy. But like you said, we're coming up against our line. We got one big explosive scene, no pun intended, left, right? The setup, of course, is you've got something I want, I got something you want. Let's meet in the middle and trade. You bring me my mom, not a hair on her head out of place, and I'll give you the whole kit caboodle, the equipment, the workers, the operation. It's all yours, blah, blah, blah. And he never says he'd leave town, but I kind of figured that was built into it. Like, you got to take your family and bounce, and if we see you in Gotham again, you die. Right? Yeah. And you're just waiting because, again, this show does this incredible thing where you never know who's winning and who's losing until the credits roll, because everybody makes moves. Oh, I'm off camera. Everybody wins something and then loses. And then I'm on a bar graph for you guys that don't know what I'm doing. Right. So you don't know.
Ebbs and
flows, peaks and valleys, baby, peaks and valleys. And you never know. And the show gives you these incredible moments. They're like mini reveals, right? So the scene here is Oz tells Sophia, come alone, bring my mom, we'll make the trade. The scene is the SUV rolling into the tunnels, and we get the comms chatter that says, all right, she just passed through the gate. It's locked behind her. She ain't going nowhere. And then it stops just before it gets into the lab, and Oz's phone rings. And, and Oz is slick. He's got all his guys all geared up.
And hidden.
Right. And hidden. He's like, I know this isn't the job you signed up for, but this is it. This is the big night. They've all got shotties. They're all strapped and ready to clap and all that good stuff. Right. They're hidden out of sight. And I'm like, room's not that big. And if I walked in that room, I knew where 9 of you are. Like, I could sort that. Right. But his phone rings and I'm like, okay, he reaches for his phone and Oz has the gun in the waistband at this point. Like, there's no more pretenses here about like concealed in the trench coat or anything else like that. I wish he had his micro Uzi though. I'm a fan of that. I love this character with the micro Uzi. I've said this. It's like the TIE fighter engine sound. Whatever it is about him with the micro Uzi works for me. But she starts doing the Sophia speech thing. She's got that strange inflection. It's kind of like she's talking and telling him what he needs to hear, what he thinks, what the situation is. And dude, you do a better job setting these things up. Good. You tell us what happens here.
And he's there and he's yelling at her and he's like, are you going to sit there and look at me? I mean, what's going on here? And this plays into a lot of the other scenes we've seen in this, like the exchange for Maroni's kid for the mushrooms.
The drugs.
Yeah. So the drugs have been passed around a few times at this point.
Well, this time it's the whole lab.
Yeah, it's the whole lab, the whole operation. And then you roll in, and then the driver takes off. And like, hey, where are you going? And then he sees that there's no one else in there.
Where did he go? Put a pin in that. Where did the driver go? Because they told us the door's locked. And it's not like we hear a gunshot later. Right, but like I expected to hear like a gunshot or something echo in the tunnel. You know what I'm saying? I was like, this is a little weird. But anyway, go ahead.
And one of the things that they did hint at earlier in this is that she knew it was walking into a trap.
Oh yeah,
like
they said it out loud.
It's completely telegraphed what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So she's like, I left you a present. Have you found it yet? And then he's like, everyone, like your heart just sunk because everyone thinks what he's about to find. And like he opens the back door and there's no one in the back seat. And like there's no one in the front seat because the door's open with a driver. And then you get into the back and you see like this blanket over something. And you're just like, oh no, this is going to set him off even more.
It was Mama Cobb's coat. It was the black coat she was wearing specific. Yes. They said it, and they said it in the after credit thing specifically. That's what got him all choked up when he went to do the reveal. Okay, I
Yeah.
hate to step on you. Go.
And then he pulls it back, and you see a timer with 19 seconds left on it, counting
And
down.
about 12 bricks of C4 that I counted.
Yeah, and she's like, I think I gave you enough time to get out, but I don't know.
Click.
And then he takes off, and then he goes to the tunnel that gave him everything when he was a child. The same tunnel that where he locked his brothers into. And then he falls down, huge explosion. They show it from the drone shot from outside. Like it ripped the road up.
It collapsed an intersection in the city.
And
like legit.
Yeah, and you said that he didn't warm his guys. You see one of his guys towards the back. Like, what is it, Oz? Right when it exploded. So that guy was completely vaporized.
Oh, they're all dead. They're all 100% dead. The only reason Oz survived is because he was in the overflow drain. There was like the insulated metal tube, and he was able to crawl out into. And they said in the after credits, crawl back up into the light. You know what I mean? But everybody else, that intersection, fell on top of the lab. Like the lab's cooked. Like it's over. Yeah. It's done. All 50 of those guys are dead. We're not getting Sal Maroni's body. It's over.
Yeah, and all 100 of their mushrooms completely gone.
Yep, gone. Lab's gone.
Yep, there is no more bliss.
Yep.
But in any other show, him falling down in that explosion would have been the cliffhanger that they left you on.
Nah, bro, we got more.
we got some more time. So let's fill this in. So he then we go to the flashback of him as the kid we've already talked about, where he goes out dancing with his mom.
Yep.
Then he wakes up in the tunnel, and like he finds his way out, and like you just see him struggling, like his legs hurt, his arms hurt, like it looks like he's been through an explosion.
And tattered.
Yep. And then he climbs up the ladder that he had a problem climbing down when he was a kid. Yep. So he climbs up to get out, and like they didn't show all of him climbing out and then him working his way out. It's like he starts climbing the ladder, and then it comes to a point where he's coming out of the remains of the tunnel. And then the cop that pulled them over, that took Sophia in, is there, and he hits him with a nightstick, knocking him out, because the guy's already been through, like, he's been beat with a golf club. He was beat with a metal gas can, punched up by Sal Maroni, then in a explosion. So one hit from this nightstick, the expando sticks that they have, to the face, took him out, and he's like, Sophia wants to see you. And then that's where you end it. So I think that's a much better ending than leaving on him falling down the tunnel after the explosion. So
because it moves it to that logical next thing. Like we know, like if they just left him under there, it doesn't tell me what happens next. Now I know what to expect in episode 8. There's zero chance outside of them opening with a flashback or something that it ends up anywhere, that it starts anywhere other than he's in Sophia's custody. The odds that they decide to start this episode with him in the backseat of this crooked cop's car and he somehow breaks his way out of the cop, this ain't that show.
No,
one of the things I loved about this scene that again, it's these creative flourishes that I love the most about this show. We've talked about these in depth. When Oz comes up the ladder, everything's very brightly lit because it's daylight, and the penguin has crawled back. He's ascended back into the light. He's back from the dead, but there's no sound. And then he fumbles with some debris in his ear, and all of a sudden it's people wailing. There's sirens, there's screams. You get the crunch and rumble of him walking through, and I'm like, that's some pretty damn good sound design. It was, you know what it was? Yep. It was like Saving Private Ryan at the beginning, kind of when he's on the beach when Tom Hanks' guy gets shell shocked and it goes into the high pitch. And then he's everybody walking around, missing his arm, starts shaking, and then it zooms back in.
And he drinks his water, and he comes back down, and then he's back in it.
It reminded me of that. And those are those clever little touches I like, because I'm like, you know what? I've never been blown up before, but I know guys that have been blown up before, and this is some shit that they've told me, where it's like everything's dead-ass quiet until it's not. And I'm like, oh, dude, that sounds absolutely terrifying. Dude, side story, 10 seconds. I had a really bad car crash when I was like 22. And the only sound I remember from any of it is like this deafening, thick thunk of like metal. It was a head-on, like a smash, and then snow falling. And that was it. Just peace and silence. It was weird. Thought it was dead, right? So I'm guessing it was like that, but magnified by like 100 times over for having been blown up. You know?
Yeah.
Because there was a lot. Dude, I should have pulled the clip. I thought I counted like 12 bricks of C4 on that in the backseat of that G-Wagon.
Yeah,
it was a lot.
it was quite wired. It was quite wired.
It was well done. King Z
Yeah.
gives it the seal of approval.
Yeah, it
We're not Hurt Locker rated over here, but I'll take
Yeah.
King Z's word for it.
Yeah, that was such a very good V-bed.
Yeah. That intersection collapsed, and I was like, dude, it's like mini Bane explosion from Dark Knight Rises.
Yes.
When he blew up the other football
Yes.
field.
Yep.
It just crumbles and collapses. And oh, snap. And dude, and like you said, the drone shot was fairly high. Because it's not like you could see people walking or cars moving. Like it was up there. And dude, this explosion ruined this X-shaped intersection, and it just went on.
Yeah.
And just tumbled. Like it was just
like
gone,
you see it, like
underneath.
it rose up.
It rippled, it bubbled.
It rose
and then,
up, and then
and I did the
started
same
coming back
thing.
down.
Yep. Damn, dude, like that. And dude, this neighborhood can't catch a break because they're still in the what's it called? What's the crappy neighborhood that got
Crown
flooded
Point.
out? Crown Point. Crown Point can't catch a break, dude. They had no
No.
power. They got flooded. They just got the power back on, and then this asshole blows up all the transformers, and now they got no power again. That's where we're going. Crown Point got no power.
So I think this is a great setup as well to go into the final episode for another reason, because we all know the final episode is supposed to set up the Batman Part 2.
Yep.
And if you have an explosion that size, that would capture the attention of the Batman. So
how can they not at least we said this all the way back in episode 1, us talking, right? I get Batman year 2. He's not Batman yet. He's not the Dark Knight yet.
Yeah.
Right. He's still learning his ways. He's mixing it up where he's mixing it up. This needs to be something that he doesn't need to make an appearance. I think you get, King Z in the bat suit shot from behind, and somebody goes, oh shit, the bat's here. Something like that. I don't need a fight scene. I don't need to see the car. Maybe just a couple of notes of the song from the movie that was like in everybody's ear when the movie came out. It was a pretty badass song they used. I don't know how you get around it. It's like you said, this is like the size of a major terrorist attack, basically.
Yeah. And that's the part that I think was set up because, one, it's still daytime. And two, I think the next episode will stay on the same day. It'll just roll into the night because from the previews already out, it looks like they're going to the same club he went with his mom when they were kids.
Right.
It will be nighttime. And I think it ends with them leaving there and looking up and the symbols in the air.
Okay. I could take that. And I said a few weeks ago, I said, dude, I'm a huge fan of Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. I love them both. I'm not Rises so much. I love the first two.
Yeah, the first
Batman, The Dark Knight Rises had a bunch of narrative problems that were just busted. The Batman was okay. Excuse me, guys. The second, third act was too much. We've talked about all that. It was pretty mid for me. And I'm like, I might actually go back and watch it again because of this show. And I'm not sure that's ever been my experience with shows to movies. Like there are no Disney MCU shows that make me want to go back and I'm not going to watch WandaVision and then go back and watch Civil War or Endgame or any of those. I'm not going to watch Ms. Marvel and then retroactively go rewatch Captain Marvel. It's never going to happen. They just don't hit for me like that. This show might have inspired me to go back and rewatch The Batman and actually increased my hype to a 2, maybe a 3 out of 10 for The Batman because I just didn't care, which is good. I mean, good for them. They've earned a fan. They've earned a customer. Like now I will probably give you my money.
Yeah.
Which is what they're supposed to do.
Is that we went back and watched The Batman before we watched episode 1 of The Penguin. And tonally, it is exactly the same. Tone,
seamless.
Lighting, color design, everything. It is like they just picked up the playbook and then they carried on. And that is just amazing, and they should get plenty of props for doing that, because a lot of people will try to take something that's built and well, I need to put my spin on this, even though it's set in this universe. I'm going to put my spin on this, and it totally destroys it tonally. They stayed to the tone, and listening to the showrunner and the directors and the art designer talk about this show, they are 100% invested in this show, invested in this universe. And that's where you get shows like this. And that's where they deliver, is when you have someone who cares that much for what they're putting out there.
Dude, I very rarely, back in the day, when DVD was the thing and Blu-ray was the thing before streaming ruined everything, right? I'd buy a DVD and maybe look at an extra feature every night. Like I just didn't care. Like I just bought the DVD to have it and watch a movie, right?
Yep.
This show with these extra, I'm just going to call them extra features after the episode, like the stuff you said, the commentary from cast and crew, fascinating. I love hearing the directors say, the director outright says, I knew I wanted to tell a backstory about Oz, and I figured maybe he had two brothers, and that there would need to, and I don't remember her exact words, but she was basically talking about, like we said, the relationship between him and them and him and his mom. And I think she even mentioned, if I remember right, where she's like, it's just a family unit. Like it's not some weird Rob Zombie Halloween abusive family unit. And you're like, oh, okay. Well, that's how Michael Myers happened. He had to kill a bully because he was bullied at home by mom's alcoholic boyfriend. This, and this. Like, no, dude, they was like, dad's out of the picture. Sophia actually takes a shot at Francis at one point, like when she has that episode in that one scene. Yeah, where's dad? I don't know that shit. You know, so like we can assume dad just ran out, like no big deal. But dad didn't. They never said dad's the one that lamed him, broke his leg, hurt him, neglected him or something, abused him into a deformity or anything. Like the brothers and him, they're all walking around, getting on, playing, shit like that. Oz just has the impulsivity, sociopathy problem.
Yep.
That's it. You know, plain and simple. Like he did what he did and no remorse, and probably clung to the lie. Dude, I wonder if that comes up. Like, does the lie get exposed between him and his mom somehow in episode 8? Because like mom just they were just playing, they drowned, they got stuck in there and drowned, they were goofing off after the movie or some bullshit. Or do you think Oz comes clean? There's no shot he voluntarily comes clean. No shot.
We will see. I mean, what we've seen of Oz, no, I don't think he will. I think he rides his house of cards until it collapses on top of him.
So we've got a few minutes left, and I'll pick your brain for the last question of the evening then. Where do you think this episode ends up in service of setting up the Batman 2? Where does this go? Who wins and how? What do you think?
That's hard because
that's why I'm asking you to, because I have no idea. That's why I'm cheating.
Yeah, so
I have no clue.
We do know that it's supposed to set up the Batman 2, right, as well as tell a compelling story, which first part check, compelling story done. Oh, yeah. I do believe that one of these characters is going to lead somehow into the release of Hush into this universe. I believe that they're going to have the final shot. I think it's going to be like pretty much like a one location setup, where it's going to be in that theater hall where they were at, and the flashback bookend there.
The old nightclub, right? Yeah.
And it might be we see the Penguin actually. We think he's dead, and Vic is going to snap, and he's going to become the new version of Hush. I think it is going to be Vic, and the reason why I believe that is, like you said, he's the reverse Bruce Wayne. His mom and dad were killed by a madman.
Right.
He, instead of going to having an Alfred, he had a Penguin. And so he's going to go further and further down that line. And it goes back to that moment and after in episode 6, where he's like, it's okay. And he's hugging him. He's like, it gets easier. And you're going to see him as it starts easier. To get, it's going to get easier.
That was a great line that reminded, obviously, from the end of the movie, the Strangers, where the one crazy psycho killer says to the other one, don't worry, it gets easier next time. And you're just like, this movie creeped me out, man. I didn't need you to say that. Like I already enjoyed my $12. I don't need to hear that coming out of the creepy killer. Dude, so you think Vic becomes Hush? 40 minutes ago, weren't you telling me that Rush becomes Hush? Wasn't that the theory 40 minutes ago?
Yeah.
That the psychiatrist becomes Hush and not the Scarecrow?
The more I'm thinking about it, like I'm running through all the scenarios.
Could be either or. Like, I think that's more likely than Vic.
It's hard. Like I said, it's hard.
It's not imposing enough to be a supervillain, as I've seen. That's all I'll say about that. I didn't mean to step on your point.
It could be. And like I said earlier, like Rush does have the intelligence to manipulate a system, as he did when he was in Arkham and then worked his way out. And then he worked his way into Sophia's life. So he could be, but I think Vic's going to have a much bigger role, especially after he comes in with the cavalry in this next episode.
Oh yeah, we forgot all about that. So that's clearly on the way. Like that's some Gandalf arriving on the the morning of the 5th day, look to the east kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like clearly that's coming. So I don't think do we get the one location? I don't think the whole episode will be one location. I think at some point the showdown will probably be at Sophia's mansion at the family home. She's got all her guys, and the Penguins' makeshift Rohirrim Gotham thug army must ride down the cliff at Helm's Deep. Like I think that's got to be, unless maybe they have that battle at the theater. Who knows? I mean, I guess that's probably a thing.
That's right. I think it's going to happen.
Does Sophia get out? Yeah.
I think
does Sophia survive this exchange and make an appearance in the Batman, or is she done here?
I think she's
too good to
done.
let go.
I think she's done here. I don't think she's going to die. I think she's going to get the freedom she wants and disappear.
Oh, because she thinks Oz is dead, like you said.
Yeah.
Like it's left ambiguous whether or not he survived an explosion or something, or a fall or whatever. Okay.
Yep.
I can see that. Dude, what a banger show, dude. It's been a long time since I watched the show week to week. Like we enjoy other shows. Like we enjoyed the Percy Jackson show. We like to talk about it. But but that's a kid's show done well. This is a show for grown-ups to like sink their teeth into and like really pick apart character and understand and enjoy what makes these guys tick and these gals tick. And it's been a long time since the show did that. Like House of the Dragon started strong with that for like the first 3-4 episodes of the second season that just came out this year. But man, did that show just drag itself to a halt to stretch out the limited source they had into that third season. Like characters just started doing dumb shit to explain why we haven't moved into like the main battle yet, But the Penguin has not taken any of these shortcuts, end arounds, back alley channel. I don't know how else to put it. It's just been perfect.
Plot pit,
almost
pit
perfect.
stops.
Right. You know what I mean? Like you said, like we've come up with, I think in 7 episodes of discussion, like 2 plot contrivances, and one of them was today. Where I was like, they let Vic go. I might not have let him go. If I was Sophia, I might have finished the job and then left with Francis because she can't fight me anyway. You know what I mean? Does it cost Sophia any time to bash his head in? No. Once he's already laid out. No. And then like earlier, there was probably an episode somewhere where we were like, oh, how could he have been here if he did this? Why did Maroney blah, 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 blah. But it's not like when we did The Acolyte, where it's like every episode, like we're coming into coverage and being like, well, here's the top 5 things that don't make sense today. And then we got to review last week to see how these are even worse because they compound the mistake.
Yeah.
This week, I feel like I'm looking forward to Sunday. Like if you guys, follow Winter Wolfstone on Twitter, it's like all my posts about this show are like, I'm hyped. I'm looking forward to this like it's an NFL game. Like I'm waiting for Sunday night for this show. Yeah. I want to talk about it as soon as I can. And I honestly can't recall the last time that was my experience with the show. I can't remember. Like Stranger Things season 2 or something. I don't know. And that wasn't even that good, but still I wanted to talk about it.
Stranger Things season 1, I think was.
Yeah, maybe 1 was because that was like that was a cultural watershed moment with like the 80s retrospective and nostalgia.
Yeah.
But I think, guys, that was episode 7 of The Penguin, HBO Max. Check out our backlist. See our other coverage of these episodes. We've had an absolute blast talking about that show. We appreciate everybody that stopped by, that's shared the channel out, has commented week to week on different things. But we really do big, profound, long goodbyes here. So I have to set Kingsley up for another poetic and long form goodbye. Kingsley, take it away.
Well, see ya.